Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran, and today we are going to be taking a look at a SCP source filmmaker short film Site-65 Remastered. This has an eye-watering 25 million views in 2 years, so I assume it's going to be good. Let's get into it. So, as you guys, it's worth noting, it is set to Imagine Dragons Radioactive, which is maybe not the best choice, but, you know, so I have to do it on mute, but we're going to add in some music. Also, okay, right here, I talk about this a lot in other animators when I watch their content, is that lighting really gives a world its authentic feel. So look where this sun is. It's behind this building, but look where the building is. It's in shadow here and illuminated here. So where is the sun? The sun should be on the other side of the building. That's what gives it this. That's why you're immediately struck when you see this by the sort of weird fakeness of it. It's got the shaky cam. Okay, this is better. See, you can see the sun's out here and the illumination is on the appropriate side of his face, but why is the mask illuminated? So this is something that you see sometimes with older stuff. You don't really have the materials don't behave properly in response to light or darkness. All right, so we got some SCP here. We got the good one. We got G-Man. All right, lots of the SCP demons. Oh, okay, they're Foundation guys. Man, this is moving quickly. All right, so fun fact, guys. When you have a secure facility like this, what you're gonna have is, one, your fail-safes are gonna look a little different. Now, normally, right, what you wanna do is, wherever possible, you want your fail-safes to default to the safe setting. What do I mean by that? Well, think about a prison with locked doors or with electronic doors. What you wanna do is, if the power fails, the doors lock. Doors don't open, they lock. That way, if someone tries to cut the power, the facility remains secure, right? That's the default setting. Now, obviously, in the SCP universe, they need to use all sorts of ways to contain the creatures. But what you will often do is have backup generators or backup batteries. This is something that homes in the US have, where a generator will sense the power has failed, will automatically switch on, usually moments after. Hospitals often have backup generators that can run independently for, I think, like a day or longer. And this is just how these secure facilities have to operate. Fukushima is another example, the Fukushima Daiichi power plant. This is something that when it was hit with the tsunami, the backup generators were supposed to immediately go online because they needed to cool the reactor. And I believe there were some sort of failures, like the backup generators were in the basement, which flooded, so they never even turned on. So, but again, it's possible that in these sort of situations where you see the lights flicker, what normally should happen is the lights will flicker for a moment and then the backup generator will be on. Okay, he looks like he's got a camelback. It looks like he has, maybe this is a badly done like plate carrier type deal, but he has no ammunition at all on the front. So again, this is something where if you have to hastily put on your tactical gear or riot control gear, in prisons, they actually don't have firearms. They try really hard to never have firearms inside the secure facility of the prison. Even cops will be expected to check their weapons when they bring a prisoner in. And this is for the safety of staff. They understand that having no guns in the area will allow the corrections officers to maintain control, right? And if there's some reason they lose control, the prisoners will never be able to use firearms against someone else, right? And the corrections officers, of course, will be able to bring in armed police who can use their weapons to decisive advantage. So this may actually be riot control gear. This may be a riot control operation. Okay, there's some sort of robber. Oh, maybe these are all the Class D, like, prisoners they use for experiments. Okay, so you got some zombies going on that are freaking out. Okay, so here's some of their tactical teams. Let's see. These guys have a lot of armor, like a lot. They also have like a rough matte finish on their fast helmets. Yeah, the texturing is just kind of weird. All of their mags have the SCP brand on it. The what is it? The facility, the organization. This makes sense. You want to brand things. The reason you brand them is for advertising purposes or to communicate something, right? So unless these have, for example, if you were to have special magazines, right? Maybe you sit there and say, hey, we have magazines that are designed to take out non-corporeal entities, or magazines that can cut through entities that can distort time or something, then you would really want to label those pouches, but you'd want them to be distinct. You'd want, like, blue means time entity, green means green means ghost, like that. You would want to clearly label. But just sticking your brand on things, it just needlessly communicates, especially a secretive brand. You would never want to accidentally have someone manufacture this, or somehow it gets resold, or even just lost or dropped, and you've revealed something about your organization that was classified. This is called OPSEC, and it's pretty fundamental to how any really intelligence agency operates. Same with all the branding with the, okay, it's got a, yeah, like what? There's no reason for this at all. You want to label the door. Instead, you would want to have a label like corridor A3, because there's no windows, so it can be easy to become disoriented. And so you want it to be like A3 or you know, a cafeteria, something other than just a generic symbol plastered everywhere. That doesn't really do anything and definitely puts your operational security at risk. Okay, again, imagine, not sure what these things are. This is just chaos. This is just plotless chaos. This has 25 million views. Okay, spraying and praying, not a great method, even in close quarters. In fact, especially in close quarters, you want to make sure your shots are tight. And the reason you want to make sure of that is because when you keep tighter groups, you're less likely to have what are called ricochets. One, in a non-secure environment, you want to make sure that your rounds aren't going to, you know, go past their target. These walls presumably aren't bulletproof, and they can easily punch. You can easily punch through a wall where you've missed an enemy and hit a civilian in another room or a friendly in another room. So you really want to do your best to not panic and just put controlled rounds down range. All right, some sort of plague doctor. And now we have someone with an AK-47 and a gas mask with a questionable seal. Gas masks only work if they form a tight seal against your face. And wearing a fabric mask like this will actually preclude that, right? Imagine if I was to try to seal a mask to my face while simultaneously having like a balaclava, right? The seal would never take. Air would pass through the fabric. So this doesn't make a ton of sense. But also, what you want to have is standardized gear, and you standardize gear for a couple of reasons. First, you want to make sure that it's just easier and cheaper to buy gear at scale instead of having individualized stuff, but you also want to make sure that your gear is interoperable, so that, you know, if this guy encounters those other troops he saw earlier, that they can use each other's weapons and ammunition, even if they aren't necessarily part of the same unit. Right now, he's precluded from that. This is also sort of weird because it's a 70-year-old rifle, which is just not what you want to take into this fight. Okay, and this is like an MRAP, an up-armored vehicle, which actually they have the windows kind of right. It's smaller, though. It looks like maybe the Russian model. Okay, one of them has a saw. But why are they hiding from another friendly? All right, we got some sort of Slender Man situation going on. Medic with a flamethrower. Oh, is this the guy that no one can look at, or they can only look at? Trying to extinguish him. Okay. Oh, maybe the AK guy is like an enemy of some kind. Got a little badass janitors. You know, actually, believe it or not, the janitors at intelligence agencies often have the highest levels of clearance and undergo the most thorough background checks, because we think of them as janitors, waste disposal. But in fact, when you're talking about highly classified material, disposing of waste is a tremendous security risk. And so doing so properly and being able to handle even the highest level of classification and handle it appropriately for destruction is a really complex technical job that requires a deep knowledge of regulations. So the janitors are often some of the highest paid and most well compensated people in those agencies. Again, really questioning the non-standardization of gear here. All right, weird eye object. I don't understand the characters. With no setting, this is just very confusing. Have they contained the threats? No, they clearly have not. I do appreciate how the animation's so bad that oftentimes they don't even aim their weapons. This is, I get it, it's a minigun, it's a trope to carry a vehicle-mounted weapon like this. He may be actually arming his RPG properly, but again, an RPG is a 70-year-old weapon. Why is the Institute using this? All right, some sort of old man. Again, this is a 1970s Vietnam-era grenade launcher, and he didn't aim at you. I get it, they're very close, but really, that's too close. The grenade would not even detonate. It's too, they need, these 40 millimeter NATO standard grenades need like 50 meters or so to arm, otherwise they won't detonate. And that makes sense, because if it detonates too close to you, it's just gonna kill you. And that's it. Guys, I'm going to be honest. I don't understand how that got 40 million views or whatever, 25 million views. This is just bad. It was just bad. It was just bad animating. I would expect, it's something I would, it's animation levels I would honestly expect from like 2009, 2010. Just no good. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for joining me. As always, be sure to hit subscribe. Right, we are so close to 100K. If you guys hit subscribe, if everyone that watches this video hits subscribes, I'm sure we'll get there. Okay, and of course, thanks to my patrons of Patreon. If you want me to break down some real-world combat videos that are too spicy for YouTube, check the link in the description and become a member today.